Thank you to our viewers for tuning back into a CSE issuer update. Today, I'm talking to Jaap Verbaas. Jaap is the CEO of CAVU Energy Metals Corp. The company recently went through a name change, and the ticker symbol is still the same. It's CAVU. Jaap, thank you so much for your time. I hope you're well.
My pleasure. Yeah, I'm doing great. Thanks.
Nice running into you at the Vancouver Resource Investment Conference. It was a nice buzz in the room. How did you find the show?
Yeah, it was good. It was good. It's great to see that in-person buzz to come back now.
Absolutely. So we're here to talk a little bit about CAVU Energy Metals Corp. Like I mentioned earlier, there was a name change. So why don't we start a little bit about talking just overall in general about the energy metals market? What are you seeing out there?
Well, clearly there's, it's a difficult time right now in the energy markets in terms of pricing for the average consumer, and I think that the price spikes that you're seeing in oil and natural gas are they're going to accelerate the move away from fossil fuels and moving away from dependency on foreign supply of energy, right? So I think that has big implications for metals such as copper, lithium, uranium, and so forth. And so we've changed our name because we noticed that people don't often associate copper with the energy market, but the coming energy transition is so big that we're going to need vastly more copper for things such as solar, wind power, and any personal electric vehicles, whether they be scooters or cars, etc. They all contain copper wiring, and there simply isn't enough copper supply set to hit the market in the next several years to keep up with the demand. So I think copper is one of the most important metals for this coming energy transition.
Well said, yeah. Now, this is actually one of our first updates that we're doing for the company. It's been quite a while. You did participate in our Mining Over Canada event last year. So I'm happy that we're having a chance to talk about some of this stuff. Now, tell us a little bit about what the company's been up to since we last spoke. I know you're in your second drill program right now, correct?
Yeah, that's correct. So last year, and just for people that aren't fully aware of our timeline, we listed in February last year and acquired the Hopper project shortly after. It's a copper, what we think is a chalcocalic copper porphyry system in the Yukon. Large porphyry targets with peripheral skarn mineralization. We drilled that last year in July and August. Had some really interesting and exciting results, both on that peripheral zone as well as on the porphyry target itself. Hit 0.21% copper equivalent over more than 100 meters from surface in what we think is a low-grade margin of a bigger porphyry target. So we're following up on that right now. The drill is spinning as we speak. We've also assessed a large amount of historical core that was previously unsampled, and we're finding a lot of hints of porphyry mineralization in that core that perhaps hadn't been looked at in the same way last year. So everything is looking well in the field. Things are operating smoothly. Despite some record snowfall in the Yukon, we're out there and we're drilling, and we should have results coming out in the next month or so.
Weather in the Yukon is something that is out of your hands, and there's you kind of have to work around it. But Jaap, I do want to talk a little bit about the region of Yukon. There might be investors and audience members who are not familiar on why the Yukon and its mining community is very important, and how proactive they are when it comes to companies like CAVU.
Yeah, well, what we see in the Yukon is, I mean, of course, we're there first and foremost, I guess, because of the porphyry potential, which most people they're aware of porphyries in BC. And somehow that interest seems to stop at the border. which, of course, the geology doesn't stop at the border. And so southwestern Yukon is one of those regions that I think is really underexplored for porphyry copper. And of course, there are other things about the Yukon maybe that will send people further south, like the shorter work seasons. I think we're showing that that's not, it's not a huge impediment. We've been on site since May 1st, and so there's a good road network where we are. We're 2.5 hours away from Whitehorse, where we have our drill contractor is based there. The geological consultants that we work with are based there, and so there's a range of service providers there. It's a 2.5 hour drive away, and people are very tuned into the local infrastructure, weather, and what's possible with that, of course. So I think that's great. Then when it comes to the overall mining and exploration scene, if you will, in the Yukon, it's such a big portion of the territory's economy that overall we find that people are very supportive of the work there.
No, well said. Yeah, I was also reading CAVU has recently picked up a new project as well. So we were talking about Yukon, but let's talk to us a little bit about the new project and what the potential is there with that.
Yeah, so the Star project is it's a porphyry in BC, just north of Telegraph Creek. It's in the Golden Triangle or the Golden Horseshoe. And it's one of these classic BC alkalic copper-gold porphyry systems, and so we've had our eyes set on this project for quite a long time. It was held 49% by one company, 51% by the other, so it was a relatively complicated transaction. We ended up buying the 49% from the other company after they entered bankruptcy, and so we were able to get that for a very good price for us. It's a porphyry project, so we're really focused on copper porphyries in Western Canada, and the Star is it's drilled. There's 5 porphyry targets there. One has been drilled quite extensively down to 700 meters depth. It's mineralized to 700 meters depth, so this particular target is fairly de-risked. It's open to depth, and so we know there's a large volume of mineralized rock there. Now it's the access is by fixed wing. There's a fixed wing strip on the claim. There's a road and trail network on the claim. There's a camp on the claim, which can host up to 20 people. And so there is, it's fly-in, but it's not your classic fly-in with helicopter only, where you need a helicopter on site to help with all the drill moves and all the ferrying people back and forth. So, as far as your standard mountainous BC project goes, the access is actually is relatively easy. This is the most technically de-risked project in our portfolio now. So the hopper is, you can call it earlier stage, if you will. Yeah. And so we essentially have 2 assets in the company now that we believe have the potential to be tier 1 assets, large copper gold porphyries, but multiple targets, in one project boundary. And we think both have the potential to be world-class projects.
And both in great jurisdictions too. So I'm glad that we were able to get on, on this virtual call and talk a little bit about the progress that the company has made. Now, I want to actually give the floor to you for a second here, because obviously your current investors, anybody watching would want to know what to expect from CAVU Energy Metals in the coming months as we go into PDAC and further on into the summer months.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I mean, we're drilling right now. The first assays will be sent to the lab tomorrow, I believe. We expect the turnarounds to be short, so 3 to 4 weeks we'll start getting our first assay results back. We're going to start, a data verification program on the Star. So there'll be work being done there. Our third asset, which we haven't talked about, is a grassroots project that we've also be doing some work on. It's near the Canal Copper Project. But mostly, of course, the news flow will be focused around the drilling. We will be at PDAC. We have a booth there, so I urge investors to come visit us. And if anything, the current turmoil in the markets has made CAVU, I think, a very attractive investment since we've added that second project. We have operations on the go. Things are going well for the company. But at the same time, of course, we are in the market that we are, and that I think gives investors a great entry point here.
Yeah. Well, as long as investors do their due diligence, depressed markets create a buying opportunity if you're a real investor, right? So this is the time to be paying attention because as the markets fluctuate, it creates opportunity to get in on the ground floor and be able to, be a long-term investor.
For sure. Yeah, I agree.
Great. Well, Jaap, it's always a pleasure chatting with you. I look forward to seeing you in the coming, next month at PDAC. And to anybody watching, feel free to reach out to Jaap Verbaas via their website. It is CAVUEnergyMetals.com.
That's correct. Yeah, that's
excellent.
Correct.
Again, thank you for your time, and I look forward to seeing you again.
Yeah, sounds good. Thanks, Anil.